Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm not even going to bother talking about what the channel's called because I don't post on this anymore, but I guess it's Nathaniel with updates. I have been waiting for Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning, though of course for most of those 6 years I didn't know it was going to be called. I've been waiting for this film since it was announced in 2019 when 7 and 8 were announced. They were going to be summer 21, summer 22, and then of course COVID and delays, it got called Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Part 2, and then now it's Dead Reckoning 2023 and Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning. Though, is it the final one? We'll get on to that. Spoiler alert, by the way. Yeah, so now it's The Final Reckoning was going to be Dead Reckoning Part 2, and that is, of course, May 2025, what it currently is. And yeah, I mean, really, to get through COVID, I had No Time to Die to look forward to. And then, of course, these two movies. Now, I guess Godzilla X Kong Supernova, that's the next thing, but that's a few years, and the Batman 2's a few years away as well. So yeah, it feels kind of an end of an era. We had Tenet as well in 2020. So I feel like maybe No Time to Die, the Daniel Craig era, and these movies over now. Maybe the sort of the second golden age of spy movies might be finally over. But they've been making these movies since 2018 when they started, talking about sort of story ideas. That's Tom Cruise and writer, director, producer Christopher McQuarrie. So this is the fourth Mission Impossible film directed by McQuarrie, the fifth where he's been involved in any capacity, and of course the eighth in the whole series. The budget for these movies combined is $700 million. Now, this movie, allegedly up to at least $400 million, certainly at least 300. And I'll do another box office breakdown episode as well. But this movie looks like it cost that much, even though it technically didn't, because most of the money goes into just paying the crew for the amount of time that they had to wait, not only during COVID for a few years, but then also the writer's strike as well. So the fact that this movie's good at all, considering the amount of offset and onset issues they went through over this, the course of these, well, on the set, I guess, since November 2020. The fact it's any good at all is quite impressive. I think basically it does have the same issues as Dead Reckoning. I really like Dead Reckoning. The Final Reckoning, I think, has higher highs and lower lows. Generally, the plot, Dead Reckoning, there's an AI villain, the Entity, and the second film is basically, it's a few months on, and Ethan Hunt has gone rogue, as per. He's gone rogue even before this film started, which, that's record time for Ethan Hunt going rogue. The first time you see him, he's already gone rogue. It's just what this character does. Really, the first 30 minutes, I think some people were saying the first hour is just exposition. I mean, the best sort of stunt sequence in this film is a scene about 45 minutes in between the fantastic Angela Bassett as the President of the United States and Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, just going at it, sort of talking about their various plans and, that iconic line from the trailer, "I need you to trust me one last time." Great line. And yeah, I trust Tom Cruise. He's my favourite actor, and this film really does deliver. I think I'll get over some negatives and then I'll just wax lyrical about it. So the main thing that kind of really bugs me about these two films, and they had to do it, especially because of COVID, so they didn't realise that was going to happen, but also the scenes that they wanted to shoot, you can't do it on film cameras, but the cinematography by Fraser Taggart. These are the first two major pictures he's done as a main director of photography. I just don't think, compared to the other Fraser in the business, Greg Fraser, the cinematography just doesn't have that danger to it, because it's too smooth, it's too clean, it's shot on digital, it's not shot on film. And I've never, ever, like, Skyfall is one of the best looking films ever made, in my opinion. and that's on digital. So there's absolutely no reason why a film on digital needs to look worse. The Batman and Dune and pretty much all the films Greg Fraser's done, Roger Deakins, are all on digital, but they've put some effort into making it look good with the colorization and the grain and that sort of thing. But these movies, which don't look like Tom Cruise movies, they don't look like Mission Impossible movies, because every Mission Impossible movie has been shot on film. I think also the villain, there are a few plot threads from the first film that aren't really paid off in a major way. There is a backstory with the villain and Marie, who the villain kills in two flashbacks, a flashback at the beginning of the last film and of this one, and then that is why Ethan Hunt is given the choice to join the IMF, the Impossible Mission Force, because he's framed for the murder that this villain actually committed. And you never really find out in these two films what the villain, where he's come from, other than just he's insane and wants to destroy the planet. I guess that's all you really need in these movies. I mean, No Time to Die, Safin, played by Rami Malek, who's actually much better as the amateur in a spy movie that just came out a month ago than he was in No Time to Die. You never find out what that is, but yeah, the villain has a stronger, sort of ideology in this than No Time to Die did. At least it makes some sense. But and I think as well, yeah, the cinematography and the villain are weaker than the previous films. I think Esai Morales perfect to be cast as a villain, because he's actually an anti-vaxxer. Something I do not appreciate at all. So, spoiler alert: when he dies his grim death, as he does in the end of this film. I don't wish death upon anyone, especially not an actor who's not really done anything too bad. But it's perfect for casting for a villain. He does go full James Bond villain and full sort of, not even that, like 1940s, 30s serial, kind of like what the Indiana Jones films are based on, especially the brown jacket and the white shirt that Tom Cruise is wearing at the end of the film. It is quite Indiana Jones, to be honest, and it's a better Uncharted movie, and it's a better Indiana Jones movie than the recent Uncharted and Indiana Jones movies have been. Ethan Hunt, again, that character just gets kind of wilder and wilder in the decisions he's making. You're with him for the rest of the... I mean, this is a 3-hour film. Again, it does not... Again, 2 hours 45. It's not 3 hours. That's why it doesn't feel like 3 hours, because it's not. Those last 15 minutes can really drag if it's an actual 3-hour movie. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels like... I think Dead Reckoning felt like 2 hours. This feels like maybe 2 hours 15 minutes, something like that. I think there's a fair bit of exposition at the start, and some of it is clunky. I think all the opening titles, the font especially, is really bad. But I think the story and the emotion, especially with Ving Rhames, who his presence is felt throughout the movie. There's a great emotional, moving monologue that he has at the end of the film once he's already died. It's a recording. I think the death of Luther Stickle, he's been in every single film, and the performance from Ving Rhames, as he's always been great in these movies, is truly moving, and there's a great respect for that character. It moves the plot along. It gives Ethan better motivation than Ilsa's death in Dead Reckoning. Luther's death in this is much more moving and well set up and integral to the story than Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust's death in the previous film. And Tom Cruise's performance through that scene is really heartbreaking. Plenty of running. There's a lot of running at the start. I think that the action you do get in the first hour or so of the film, there's a great fight in the middle, or 2 fights intercut, one on a submarine and one in the Arctic in a sort of a wooden cabin that's on fire. The action you do get early on is pretty good, but there's not a huge amount of it. There's a bit of running around in London, but that's not, it's big a sequence as the two previous running in London scenes that we've had in Mission Impossible movies, or the 3 running around in London scenes we've had in Tom Cruise movies in general, including The Mummy in 2017. But who cares about that, because the submarine sequence, the 20-minute submarine sequence with 2 words of dialogue in 20 minutes, and then the biplane sort of dogfight, hold on to. Well, it's a gunfight into a car chase, into a foot chase, into a grab onto the bottom of one biplane, or chase after one biplane, grab onto the bottom of another one, climb into it, fight the pilot, throw him out, clamber into the cockpit, realize you're in the wrong cockpit, clamber into the other one, fly up to the other biplane, have a dogfight with him, get out of the biplane, hang on to the landing gear of the biplane above you whilst Ethan Hunt is flying the plane with his feet, and then the other one destroys, it crumbles. He's then hanging upside down and being spun around on the other one, get into the cockpit, knock out Gabriel, the villain, throw him out, parachute down, parachute sets on fire, whilst Rolf Saxon as William Donlow, who returns from the first movie, and a bunch of other awesome characters. I think Pom Klementieff especially, I think, has better moments than Hayley Atwell as Grace. I think Hayley Atwell as Grace, the thief, is better because there's a few more sort of pickpocketing scenes and fights from the first movie. I think Hayley Atwell as Grace is better in Dead Reckoning than in this one, but Pom Klementieff has a few more lines. Not a huge amount. She's still, a lot of looks, especially at the start of the film. The scene I'm talking about, I won't go into it too much, although we are doing spoilers. I think as the assassin Paris is really great, and in terms of villains, you've got her, although she's a good guy in this one, having killed various agents in the first one. I guess we'll let you off. You did help save the world, I guess. She's great, and out of the 3 villains with the AI entity and Isan Morales as Gabriel, who's a bit moustache twirly in this, really, which is fun, but tonally a bit out of place. She's the best villain of these 3 films, although you've got Henry Czerny as Kittredge, again returning from the first film and the previous film. He's, not in this one quite so much as he was in the last one, but he just has a really great scene at the very end of the film where he's talking about, well, Ethan, just tell me your plan. I know you've got this MacGuffin, you've got a nuclear bomb, that's 15 minutes to go. Just tell me what's going on. I know you've got some ridiculous plan. I just need to know what it is. I don't care what it is. I'll do exactly what you say. Just, tell me. Because the villain's, right there. You're there. I've seen, these movies before. Just get on with it. And then, of course, all hell breaks loose. Thank God that they didn't kill Ethan Hunt. We saw the reaction that happened with No Time to Die. I've mentioned that one a lot. This is a much more satisfying conclusion to an 8-film franchise, and it really couldn't end in a better way than just. And I haven't talked about the submarine sequence. I want to keep this under 15 minutes. The submarine sequence is unreal. The submarine that broke, which again put the budget up. I find kind of vast open spaces, and there's not a bigger vast open spaces than the outside water, let alone under the ice cap, with it's technically 3 submarines in that sequence. It is extremely tense. But yeah, they didn't kill Ethan Hunt. Tom Cruise and Ethan Hunt, he's gone through so much, he doesn't deserve to die, and it really couldn't end up with a better way than he's completed the mission. He gives his friends one last look, walks off, not into the sunset, but at night, because he's a secret agent, with a great jacket, great long hair, the Mission Impossible theme playing, and, kind of the end of Ghost Protocol. It's like a return to that, and it's a really satisfying ending. The audiences I've watched it with have been really satisfied and relieved when they realise he survived. So overall, 8 out of 10, really moving, exciting action movie, satisfying, and I'll do some more videos, but I really enjoyed it. It was worth the wait, and I hope if you see the film you've enjoyed it too. Goodbye.